The first thing Evelyn Brooks noticed was the cold. Not the winter wind outside the cafe, but the strange, unnatural chill that spread through the room the moment the door opened. She was wiping down a cracked Formica table, Harper humming softly beside her as she colored, when the bell above the entrance chimed soft, almost delicate. But the man who walked in was anything but delicate. Tall, severe, dressed in a charcoal coat that looked far too expensive for a place where the coffee machine rattled like an old truck. His presence didn't just draw attention, it silenced the entire room. Evelyn didn't know his name yet. She only knew that every instinct, every mother's instinct, whispered one thing: danger. Still, she kept smiling. She always smiled, even when she was exhausted, even when her hands shook, even when she was terrified Caleb might find her again. Smiling was her armor, her only armor. "Mom?" Harper tugged her sleeve. "That man looks like the people in the movies, the ones who don't talk a lot." Evelyn swallowed. "Just keep coloring, baby." The stranger didn't sit right away. He scanned the calf slowly, sharply, like he was searching for threats, or deciding which table wouldn't offend him. Finally, he chose the far booth, the one with the flickering light overhead. He slid into the seat with a controlled ease that made Evelyn's heart thud harder. She grabbed her notepad and walked over. "Good evening," she said. "What can I get you?" He looked up, and Evelyn felt her breath catch not, because he was handsome, though he was, but because his eyes were the kind that carried storms. "Coffee," he said. "Black." His voice vibrated with a quiet authority that made the hairs on her arms rise. "Of course," she replied, forcing her tone steady. But just as she turned, Harper slipped on a pencil and let out a small cry. The stranger's head snapped toward the sound. Before Evelyn could reach her daughter, the man was already there, kneeling on the worn tiles beside Harper. "You're hurt," he said, as if it were an offense to the universe. "It's just a scratch," Harper whispered, wide-eyed. He took a napkin from his pocket linen, not paper, and folded it neatly, pressing it gently to her knee. His movements were precise, careful, almost reverent. Evelyn froze. Men like him didn't kneel for anyone, especially not a 6-year-old in a thrift store jacket. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "Harper," she answered. Something flickered in his expression, something she couldn't read. Then Harper tilted her head. "Have we met? I think I've seen you before." His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Evelyn's stomach dropped. That made no sense. Impossible. Unless before she could ask anything, the calf door swung open again. 3 men walked in. Wrong energy, wrong eyes, wrong night, and the storm inside the stranger's gaze finally broke. "Evelyn Brooks," he said quietly. "Take your daughter and stay behind me." She froze. "How do you know my—" But he wasn't looking at her anymore. He was looking at the men who were looking at Harper. And then one of them said the words that shattered Evelyn's world. "There she is! The girl! Grab her!" Evelyn didn't scream. She couldn't. Her throat closed around the sound as the 3 men stepped fully into the cafe, their eyes locked on little Harper, the way wolves lock onto a fawn that has wandered too far from the herd. The stranger, Dominic Hale, shifted just enough to shield both mother and child, one arm subtly guiding them back, while his gaze sharpened into something deadly. "Don't run," he murmured to Evelyn, without looking at her. "They're waiting for that." Her pulse slammed against her ribs. "Who are they? What do they want with later?" he said. Calm. Controlled. Prepared for violence in a way no ordinary man ever could be. The leader of the trio approached, hands in pockets, posture casual, too casual. His eyes flicked to Evelyn, then down to Harper, and something cruel twisted at the corner of his mouth. "Cute kid," he said. "Shame if someone took her somewhere your ex is dying to see her." Evelyn felt her vision blur. Her ex. Caleb. No. No. Not again. Not after 3 years of running. Dominic stepped forward, blocking the men's sightline. "You made a mistake walking in here." The leader chuckled. Funny. That's exactly what Caleb Mason said you'd say. Hearing Caleb's name from a stranger's mouth nearly buckled Evelyn's knees. She clutched Harper closer, feeling the child tremble. "We're not here for you, Hale," the man continued. "Orders are simple. We take the girl, deliver her, and walk away richer." "Over my dead body," Dominic replied. A laugh rolled through the room. That was also mentioned as a possibility. Evelyn looked around desperately. The other customers were frozen, too afraid to move. Marissa, the cafe's manager, peeked from behind the counter, eyes wide with horror. The whole world seemed to shrink to a single, suffocating point. Then Harper whispered, "Mommy, are they bad guys?" Evelyn felt her heart shatter. "Baby, look at me. Keep your eyes on me, okay?" Dominic suddenly spoke again quietly, but with an authority that cut through the fear. "Evelyn, you need to listen. Take Harper into the kitchen, now." She hesitated, terrified of leaving his side, but equally terrified of staying. The leader smirked. "You really think we won't follow?" "No," Dominic said. "I think you're too stupid to understand the situation." He reached slowly inside his coat. Evelyn thought he was going for a weapon. He wasn't. He tossed his phone onto a table. A single name glowed on the screen. FBI Contact Priority Line. The men paled. Dominic lifted a brow. Shall I tell them Caleb Mason is sending people after a child? Or should I let them guess why he suddenly wants a girl he's not biologically related to? More shock, more tension. Harper's breath hitched. The leader muttered a curse. "You don't know anything." "I know enough," Dominic replied. "And I suggest you walk out before I decide you don't." The three men hesitated just long enough for Evelyn to understand something terrifying. Dominic Hale wasn't afraid of them. They were afraid of him. Then the leader spat on the floor, scowled, and jerked his head toward the door. "This isn't over." As they left, Dominic finally turned to Evelyn. "It's starting," he said softly. "And you and your daughter are in more danger than you realize." The calf didn't feel like a calf anymore. The moment the three men left, the silence turned heavy, thicker than steam, thicker than fear. Evelyn's legs finally gave out, and she grabbed the counter to keep herself upright. Harper clung to her waist, her tiny fingers trembling. Dominic Hale slipped his phone back into his coat, his expression unreadable, but unmistakably dangerous. Not chaotic danger, controlled danger, the kind that came from years of surviving worlds Evelyn prayed she would never have to enter. "Evelyn," he said, his tone lower now, "you need to leave with your daughter. Right now. I can't just walk out. I have a job." And my boss Marissa leaned over the counter, voice shaking. "Honey, go. I'll cover your shift. Just take your little girl and run." Dominic nodded. "She's right. Staying here puts everyone in danger." Evelyn hugged Harper closer. "Why? Why are they after my child? Caleb never cared about her. He never even— That's exactly why this is worse than you think." Dominic cut in, his eyes fixed on her with unsettling intensity. "Caleb isn't trying to reclaim a family. He's trying to erase evidence." Evelyn's breath hitched. His breath. Evidence of what? Dominic seemed to weigh something in his mind, choosing his words carefully. Something he did years ago. Something he thinks Harper might be connected to. Something he's willing to kill for. Evelyn felt her blood turn cold. "She's just a child." "To you, yes," Dominic said quietly. "To him, she is leverage, a bargaining chip, a loose thread he didn't expect." Harper buried her face into Evelyn's chest. "Mommy, am I in trouble?" "No, baby," Evelyn whispered fiercely. "You didn't do anything wrong. You hear me? Nothing." Dominic stepped closer then, lowering himself to Harper's level. The hard lines of his face softened just barely. "Harper, no one is going to take you. I won't let them." Harper blinked up at him, searching. "You helped me earlier, with my knee." "Yes," he said, voice gentler, "and I'll do more if I have to." Something flickered in Harper's eyes again. The same eerie familiarity she'd shown earlier. I think I think I saw you when I was little. Evelyn stiffened. Dominic did too. Where? He asked gently. Harper frowned in concentration, then pointed toward the front windows, toward the distant lights of Manhattan. Outside our old home. The night Mommy cried a lot. Evelyn felt the air leave her lungs. Dominic slowly stood. His jaw tightened, and for the first time, real conflict crossed his features. Evelyn, we need to talk. No. Fear surged through her. I don't want you anywhere near my past. Well, he said, eyes darkening, your past is already here. The cafe lights flickered. Then a car screeched to a halt outside. Dominic didn't hesitate. He grabbed Evelyn's arm, not hurting, but firm. They're back, through the kitchen, now. Evelyn's heart slammed as she pulled Harper behind her and ran toward the back door, Dominic close behind. And as the kitchen door burst open, Evelyn realized something horrifying. This wasn't a random attack. This wasn't about money. This night wasn't bad luck. Someone had planned it. Someone who knew exactly where she would be, and exactly how to break her. The three of them burst out the cafe's back exit and into the icy alley. The wind cut across Evelyn's face as she held Harper tight against her chest, her breath coming out in shaky clouds. Behind them, Dominic slammed the metal door shut and wedged a trash bin against it, buying precious seconds. Keep moving, he ordered. They hurried toward the street, but before they reached the corner, Dominic suddenly grabbed Evelyn's arm and pulled her into the shadows. A black sedan crept down the block slow, deliberate, searching. Evelyn's heart thundered. They're everywhere, Dominic's voice dropped to a whisper. Caleb's not sending amateurs. These men know the city, know the blind spots, know where police won't come fast. Harper whimpered and buried her face into Evelyn's coat. Mommy, I want to go home. Evelyn felt her throat burn. I know, baby. I know. Dominic studied the street, calculating silently. Even under the dim streetlight, the shift in his demeanor was unmistakable. His expression wasn't cold. It was decisive, ruthlessly decisive. Evelyn, he said, turning toward her, you can't go back to your apartment. They'll be waiting. Then where do we go? She whispered. My penthouse. Evelyn shook her head instantly. Absolutely not. That's your world, not mine. I don't even know who you are. You know enough, he interrupted. You know I protected your daughter when those men walked in. And you know I'm the only reason they didn't take her. His words hit her with brutal clarity. Evelyn swallowed hard. Why are you helping us? Dominic hesitated just for a breath. Because Caleb Mason is more dangerous than you understand. And because his jaw clenched. Because this isn't the first time he's tried to use people as weapons. Something flickered inside Evelyn. Something she didn't want to name yet. Fear? Gratitude? Distrust? Dominic, she whispered, I don't need your world. I just need my daughter safe. Exactly, he said quietly. Which is why you're coming with me. Before she could protest again, the black sedan suddenly accelerated toward the alley. Dominic stepped in front of them instinctively, his arm out like a shield. Headlights flashed across the brick walls. Harper screamed. Run! Dominic barked. They sprinted. Evelyn felt her lungs ripping apart, her legs numb. Dominic grabbed Harper from her arms to make them faster and shouted over his shoulder, My car is around the corner! They turned onto the main road, just as a sleek black Mercedes S-Class beeped open. Dominic shoved Harper into the back seat, then held the door for Evelyn. Hurry! She climbed in, and Dominic slid into the driver's seat. The engine roared to life as the sedan behind them screeched onto the road. Seat belts! Dominic snapped not out of panic, but instinct. Evelyn fumbled with the buckle as Dominic floored the accelerator, weaving through late-night traffic like he'd been born doing it. Harper clung to Evelyn, shaking. The sedan stayed close, too close. Evelyn finally broke. Dominic, they're not stopping. They won't stop. No, he said, eyes locked on the mirror. They won't. He swerved hard, forcing the sedan to slow. For a moment, it worked. Then Dominic spoke again, low, steady, unshakable. Evelyn, you and Harper need protection, real protection, And whether you trust me or not, I'm offering it now." She stared at him, her voice barely a whisper. "What are you offering?" Dominic met her eyes through the mirror. "Safety. A place they can't reach you. But it comes with one condition." The Mercedes shot across the bridge toward Manhattan, the city lights blurring past the windows like streaks of gold and ice. Evelyn held Harper tightly, her heart pounding so hard she could barely breathe. Dominic drove with terrifying calm, every movement sharp and deliberate. "Tell me the condition," Evelyn demanded, though her voice trembled. Dominic didn't answer right away. He checked the mirrors, adjusted their speed, then finally spoke. "You and Harper stay under my protection. My home, my security, my rules." Evelyn stiffened. "That sounds a lot like control." "It's survival," he countered. "Caleb won't stop. Not tonight, not tomorrow, not ever, until he gets what he wants." "And what does he want?" Evelyn whispered. Dominic's jaw tightened. "You." Her stomach dropped. "And your daughter?" he added darkly. "For different reasons." Harper whimpered softly and pressed her face into Evelyn's coat. Evelyn kissed her hair, fighting tears. "Dominic, I left Caleb years ago. How could he still?" "He doesn't let go," Dominic said. "Men like him never do." Evelyn felt the old memory claw up her spine, the night she'd run barefoot from her house. Blood on her hands, Harper only 1 year old, Caleb roaring threats behind her. She'd never felt safe since. Dominic continued, tone low but firm. "If you come with me, I can shield you, but there's a cost." Evelyn's eyes narrowed. "Which is? You'll have to work for me, stay close so I can keep you in my line of sight. I can't protect someone who keeps running into the dark." A beat passed, then another. "That's not protection," Evelyn whispered. "That's captivity." Dominic's gaze flicked to her in the mirror. "You misunderstand. I'm not trapping you. I'm preventing him from trapping you." Before she could respond, Harper lifted her head, tears streaking her cheeks. "Mommy, I don't want the bad men to find us again." That broke something inside Evelyn. She turned back to Dominic. "How long would we have to stay with you?" "As long as Caleb is active," Dominic said. "Until the threat is gone." "And when will that be?" Dominic exhaled slowly. "When I remove him." Evelyn felt every muscle lock. "Remove? You mean yes?" A chill danced across her skin. This man wasn't guessing. He wasn't hoping. He was planning. And in a sickening twist of fate, the only person capable of saving her was someone equally capable of destroying someone else. "Evelyn," Dominic said, his voice softer now, "I'm giving you a choice, not a perfect one, but a real one. Let me help you. Let me protect her." Evelyn looked down at Harper, her small hands twisted in fear, her breath shaky. A mother doesn't choose pride over safety. A mother chooses life. Evelyn nodded once, the decision shattering the last of her old world. "Fine," she whispered. "We'll go with you." Dominic turned the wheel, guiding the car off the expressway toward a towering skyline where the lights gleamed like cold diamonds. "Good," he murmured, "because Caleb Mason made his first move tonight." He glanced at her again this time with something darker, heavier. "And now I have to make mine." The elevator ride to Dominic Hale's penthouse felt like ascending into someone else's life, one Evelyn had no business stepping into. Harper clung to her side, still trembling from the chase. Dominic stood on the opposite end of the elevator, hands in his coat pockets, his expression unreadable. Not cold calculating. A man building a plan with every breath. When the doors opened, Evelyn's breath caught. The penthouse wasn't just luxurious. It was surreal. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed Manhattan's skyline glittering against the night. Marble floors gleamed beneath soft lighting. A grand piano sat near the window, untouched, almost lonely. "This is too much," she whispered. "It's safe," Dominic corrected. "That's what matters." Harper peeked out from behind Evelyn's arm, eyes wide. Mommy, the floor is shiny. Dominic knelt to her level again, surprising Evelyn with the gentleness he didn't show adults. You're safe here, Harper. No one can get inside without me knowing. Harper nodded hesitantly, then reached for Evelyn's hand. Dominic straightened. There's a guest room prepared. You can settle in for the night. Evelyn stiffened. This wasn't planned. How is there a room ready? Dominic hesitated just long enough for her to notice. I keep rooms prepared for clients, people in danger. It's not uncommon. A reasonable answer. Too reasonable. Too polished. Evelyn filed the discomfort away. He led them down a hallway lined with expensive art. Evelyn couldn't help noticing how Harper's small shoes squeaked against the marble in intrusion, a reminder they didn't belong here. When they reached the guest suite, Evelyn froze again. It wasn't a spare room, it was a sanctuary. Soft lighting, cream bedding, a plush chair beside a window overlooking the Hudson River. Why would anyone need a room like this in an emergency? She asked quietly. Dominic's jaw flexed. Some emergencies require comfort and control. There it was again. Control. Evelyn hugged Harper tighter. We won't stay long, just until I figure things out. Dominic stepped closer, his voice lower. You're not figuring this out alone. Caleb won't stop. Tonight proves he already crossed lines I didn't think he would. Why? Evelyn demanded. Why now? Why her? She's just a child. Dominic didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked to the window, staring out at the city as though it held answers. His reflection looked carved from shadows. I'm beginning to suspect, he said slowly, that Harper represents something Caleb fears, or something he wants to erase. Evelyn felt the floor sway beneath her. She's not his child. He knows that. Why would he? Because secrets rarely stay buried, Dominic said. And if someone connected Harper to something he did, something unforgivable, he didn't finish. He didn't need to. Evelyn felt her knees weaken. Harper tugged her sleeve, whispering, Mommy, are we really safe here? Evelyn forced a smile. Yes, baby. For tonight, we are. Dominic turned from the window. His voice was steady but carried weight. Get some rest. Tomorrow, everything changes. As he walked away, Evelyn watched his shadow retreat down the hall. And for the first time, a chilling thought crept into her mind. What if staying with Dominic protected them from Caleb, but pulled them into something even darker? Evelyn didn't sleep. She lay awake in the dim guest room, Harper curled against her side. The soft hum of the penthouse's heating system, the only sound. But even wrapped in warmth, the sense of danger pressed on her chest like a weight. Sometime near dawn, unable to stay still any longer, she slipped out of bed and quietly stepped into the hallway. She expected silence. Instead, she heard a voice. Dominic's voice. It was low, sharp, controlled, but strained in a way she hadn't heard before. She followed the sound to the office at the end of the corridor. The door was slightly ajar. She could see him standing by the window, looking out over the city as if it were a battlefield. I don't care what resources you need, he growled into the phone. Find out how Caleb tracked her. He never should have been able to... Pause. No mistakes. If he gets any closer, I want his entire operation dismantled. Another pause. Then Dominic's tone darkened further. And for God's sake, keep this off Marino's radar. If they smell blood, they'll use her to get to me. Evelyn's stomach dropped. Her worst fear wasn't that Dominic was dangerous. It was that she and Harper had become leverage in a war she didn't even understand. Suddenly, Dominic turned, and their eyes met through the crack in the door. He hung up instantly. Evelyn! His voice lost its edge. You should be resting. She pushed the door open fully. I couldn't sleep. Dominic studied her, really studied her, as if assessing damage invisible to the eye. I know this is overwhelming. That's not the word I'd use, she replied softly. He exhaled slowly. Come in. She stepped inside. The office felt too elegant for someone like her. Mahogany desk, A sleek MacBook Pro glowing faintly, books aligned with military precision. Everything in this space belonged to a man who controlled every variable, a man who couldn't afford mistakes, a man who now had her life in his hands. "Dominic," she began, "what did you mean about Caleb tracking me? I've hidden for years." "Yes," he said, jaw tightening, "which is what concerns me." He walked toward the desk, picking up a folder. "I ran a quick background check after you arrived." Evelyn stiffened. "You ran what?" "I needed to assess the danger level. For Harper's sake." He handed her a page. Her breath caught. It was her old address, the one she fled from the night everything fell apart. Next to it, a timestamp from just 3 days ago. Caleb Mason visited this location. Evelyn felt her blood turn cold. Why would he? Why now? Dominic's expression softened, not pity, but understanding, because something resurfaced, something he's desperate to hide. "I don't know what yet, but I will." He stepped closer, closer than he ever had before. "You're not alone anymore," Dominic said, voice low. "I know you don't trust me yet, but I meant what I said. I'm protecting your daughter, and I'm protecting you." Evelyn swallowed hard. "But why? You don't know us." Something flickered in his eyes, something raw and unguarded. "Because," he whispered, "I've seen what men like Caleb become, and I refuse to let history repeat itself." Evelyn didn't know what that meant, but she felt its weight. And for the first time since this nightmare began, she wasn't sure if the danger outside these walls scared her more, or the man standing in front of her did. For a few fragile hours, Evelyn believed the city might leave them alone. Morning sunlight poured into the penthouse like a promise. Harper ate breakfast at the Marble Island, legs swinging, while Dominic stood nearby, sipping black coffee, watching them with an alertness disguised as calm. It almost felt normal, but normal was a luxury Evelyn hadn't tasted in years. Just before noon, Harper tugged Evelyn's sleeve. "Mommy, am I still going to school today?" Evelyn hesitated, but Dominic answered first. "Yes. Routine keeps children grounded." Then, glancing at Evelyn, he added, "And I'm coming with you." Evelyn didn't argue. She was too tired to pretend she didn't need help. The drive to Harper's school was quiet. Too quiet. Dominic scanned every mirror, every rooftop, every passing car. Evelyn clutched her tote bag like a lifeline. When they pulled up to the curb, Harper leaned forward and kissed Evelyn's cheek. "I'll be brave today." Dominic smiled faintly. "Good. And stay near your teacher." Harper nodded and hurried toward the entrance. That's when Evelyn saw him. A man leaning against the chain-link fence, baseball cap pulled low, hands in pockets, body angled not toward the school, but toward Harper. Her breath caught. "Dominic, someone's watching her." Dominic's demeanor changed instantly. He followed her gaze, eyes narrowing. "Stay in the car." "What?" "No, I'm going to—" "Evelyn!" His voice cut through her panic. "Harper needs one calm parent right now. You stay, I'll handle him." He stepped out of the Mercedes with the quiet force of a storm, each stride deliberate, coiled, predatory. The man by the fence stiffened when Dominic approached. Evelyn pressed her hand to the window, watching in terror. She couldn't hear the words exchanged, but she saw the moment the stranger realized who he was facing. His shoulders dropped, his confidence faltered. Dominic didn't raise his voice or his hands. He didn't need to. He simply stepped closer, said something low and lethal, and the man backed away like he'd touched fire. Then Dominic grabbed the man by the jacket and slammed him into the fence. Evelyn gasped. Dominic leaned in, voice ablade. The man nodded rapidly, too rapidly, before Dominic released him with a shove. The stranger bolted down the street. Dominic returned to the car, jaw tight, breathing measured. "Who was he?" Evelyn burst out. "A scout," Dominic said. "Someone Caleb hired to track your movements. He didn't expect me." Evelyn felt sick. "He was watching my daughter." "Yes," Dominic said, eyes hardening. "And he won't be the last." Her throat closed. Dominic. I can't live like this. Harper can't live like this. He turned toward her, then fully, forcefully. You won't. But we have to be ahead of Caleb, not behind him. Evelyn blinked through rising tears. How? He's always one step ahead. Dominic reached into his coat and handed her a small device. A tracker, sleek and dark. This goes in Harper's backpack, and I've already assigned 2 men to shadow the school. Evelyn stared at him, shaken. You planned all this? No. His voice softened. I prepared for the worst. Because Caleb Mason doesn't just want to find you. He paused, eyes meeting hers with brutal clarity. He wants to erase you. Dominic didn't drive Evelyn back to the penthouse immediately. Instead, he took a detour one that made her chest tighten with every turn. The buildings outside grew taller, sleeker, colder. Finally, they pulled into an underground garage beneath a mirrored office tower on Park Avenue. Where are we? Evelyn asked, gripping the door handle. My private office, Dominic replied. If Caleb is tracking you, then he's tracking your history, and I need to know exactly what he thinks he has. His tone left no room for argument. He led her through a private elevator with fingerprint access. The doors opened to a minimalist room with black glass walls, a massive desk, and surveillance monitors blinking quietly in the dark. It felt nothing like the cafe, nothing like Evelyn's world. Everything here was precision and power, and she was terrified of both. Dominic motioned toward a leather chair. Sit. She did, though her hands shook. He opened a drawer, pulled out a secure tablet, and entered a series of passwords so complex Evelyn couldn't follow them if she tried. Then he slid the device toward her. Look. Evelyn hesitated. The screen displayed a digital folder labeled Brooks Sealed Record, Restricted Access. Her breath caught. I've never seen this. You weren't supposed to, Dominic said. This file doesn't exist in civilian databases, which means someone with power buried it. Evelyn clicked the document, and her world cracked open. Hospital reports, police interviews, photographs she recognized the nightgown she wore, the bruise on her collarbone, the tiny handprint of infant Harper clutching her shoulder. The night she ran. The night Caleb almost killed her. But there was something worse. A section titled Witnesses. Under it, 2 names. The first was a retired officer she remembered screaming for help. The second, Dominic Hale. Evelyn felt the room tilt. This is wrong. You weren't there. I never saw you. Dominic froze. I didn't know my name was in that file, he said slowly. Someone added it. Recently. Why? She whispered. Why would Caleb put you in my past? Dominic paced, thinking aloud. If Caleb wants leverage over me, connecting me to you retroactively would make you appear more important to my operation than you are. It creates motive, a false narrative. For what? Evelyn cried. Why frame me for anything? Dominic turned back to her. Because Caleb isn't trying to get you back. He's trying to make you disappear without leaving fingerprints on his own hands. Evelyn covered her mouth. No, he wouldn't. Oh, he would, Dominic said, voice turning lethal. And this file proves he already started rewriting your history. Just then, the tablet pinged. A new message appeared, sent from an untraceable number. You're late, Evelyn. I told you it'd come for what's mine. Attached was a photo. Harper taken that morning at school. Evelyn screamed. Dominic grabbed the tablet, jaw tightening. His voice dropped to a deadly whisper. He breached the school perimeter. He's escalating. Evelyn shattered. Dominic, he's going to take her. Not while I'm alive, Dominic said. Then he leaned in, inches from her face, eyes burning with resolve she had never seen in any man. Evelyn, from this moment forward, Caleb Mason is at war with me. Manhattan looked unreal that night, silver snow drifting beneath street lamps, Fifth Avenue glowing like a river of diamonds. People hurried past in coats and scarves, completely unaware that Evelyn Brooks was falling apart inside Dominic Hale's Mercedes as it glided toward the Plaza Hotel. She held the printed photo of Harper in shaking hands. The timestamp, the angle, Caleb's message. Dominic watched her, jaw tight, knuckles white on the steering wheel. "He got close," he said quietly. "Closer than I expected. I won't underestimate him again." Evelyn swallowed hard. "Why the plaza? Why not your penthouse?" "Because Caleb now knows your patterns," Dominic said. "He traced your movements. That means we break patterns." He glanced at her. "And also, I don't want him anywhere near Harper's safe place." A strange warmth flickered in Evelyn's chest, despite the terror twisting inside her. The Mercedes curved around the fountain, stopping beneath the grand awning of the hotel. Gold lights dripped down the stone columns like champagne. "This is too much," Evelyn whispered. "This is temporary," Dominic corrected. "A place where no one questions why a man like me brings guests at midnight." The doorman opened Evelyn's door with a respectful nod, clearly recognizing Dominic. Evelyn stepped out, still dazed, holding Harper's backpack tight as if it contained her daughter's heartbeat. Inside, the lobby gleamed with marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and quiet wealth. Evelyn felt like she was walking through someone else's dream, one she didn't deserve, one she didn't trust. Dominic led her to a private elevator. No keycard. A biometric scan accepted his fingerprint instantly. He noticed her watching. "These floors aren't for the public." "Of course they aren't," she murmured. The elevator opened to a suite larger than Evelyn's entire apartment building. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed Central Park, dusted with fresh snow. A grand fireplace glowed softly. Plush furniture wrapped the room in gold light. Evelyn stared, stunned. "Dominic, this must cost. It doesn't matter." "It does to me." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Evelyn, you and Harper are not my charity. You are my responsibility until Caleb is neutralized." She shook her head. "Why? Why do you care so much? You barely know us." Dominic hesitated just a second too long. Evelyn's breath caught. "What aren't you telling me?" He moved past her, pulling a small velvet box from his coat, not jewelry, but a security fob. "This links you to my protection network. If anything happens, even if I'm not with you, 3 teams move instantly." "You planned this," she whispered. "All of this." "No," Dominic said, meeting her eyes. "I planned for threats. I didn't plan for you." The room felt suddenly smaller. Before Evelyn could speak, Dominic's phone buzzed sharply. He answered, and his expression shifted into something cold. "Lethal." "What?" he said. "Repeat that." Pause. Then Dominic's eyes met hers. "Caleb didn't just send men today. He contacted someone inside my organization." Evelyn froze. "Someone you trust?" Dominic's voice dropped to a whisper. "Someone who knows you're here." Evelyn felt the world tilt again. "Who?" she whispered. Dominic's answer was a single name. Jonas. Evelyn had always believed danger came from outside, that monsters lived on dark streets, in locked memories, in the echo of Caleb's voice. She never imagined danger could walk quietly inside Dominic Hale's world, wearing trust like a mask. Jonas. Dominic's right hand. His oldest ally. The man Evelyn had seen at the cafe days earlier, standing in the corner, invisible yet present. Protective, she thought. Now Dominic stood completely still, the city lights behind him turning his shadow darker, sharper. "He contacted Caleb?" Evelyn asked, voice trembling. "Why would he do that?" Dominic's jaw flexed. "I don't know. Jonas doesn't break. Not like this." A pause. "He's been with me for 12 years. Evelyn swallowed. "People don't stay loyal forever, not when someone offers them fear or money." Dominic didn't react. Not externally. But something in his eyes cracked just for a heartbeat. Then the steel returned. He turned toward the window, speaking more to himself than to her. "If Jonas is compromised, he knows my blind spots, my routes, my protocols. He knows how I protect people." Evelyn's breath hitched. "He knows where Harper sleeps tonight." Dominic spun around, the sharp motion making Evelyn flinch. "No one is touching her," he said fiercely. "Not Jonas. Not Caleb. Not anyone." Evelyn stepped closer despite her fear. "Dominic, what if Jonas is being forced? What if Caleb threatened his family?" Dominic paused. It was enough to tell her she'd struck a nerve. "He doesn't have family," Dominic said. "Not anymore." The heaviness in those words made Evelyn stop asking. Just then, a soft chime echoed from the suite's security panel. Dominic moved instantly, checking the screen. Evelyn rushed closer, heart hammering. On the screen was a grainy camera feed of the service hallway outside their suite. A man stood there, cap pulled low, face hidden. Evelyn whispered, "Is that?" "No," Dominic said, his voice turning ice. "That's one of Jonas's men." He tapped the screen. "And he shouldn't be anywhere near this floor." Evelyn felt her legs weaken. "What does that mean?" "It means," Dominic growled, "Jonas gave him clearance." Before she could react, Dominic grabbed a gun from the hidden drawer under the console. Evelyn stepped back, fear surging through her. "You're going after him alone?" she whispered. "I'm going to remove a threat." "Dominic, wait, this is exactly what Caleb wants. He wants you scattered, distracted, alone." He froze not at her words, but at her voice. She hadn't spoken with desperation. She had spoken with fear for him. He looked at her, then really looked. And something shifted between them, unspoken but undeniable. "You and Harper stay in the bedroom," he said, softer now. "Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me." "Dominic." He stepped closer, lowering his voice to a whisper that brushed her skin. "I won't let anyone hurt you." Evelyn felt her throat tighten. "Just come back." His eyes softened for a single heartbeat. "I will." He left the suite like a shadow disappearing through a slit of light. The door closed. Silence swallowed the room. Evelyn grabbed Harper's backpack and rushed to the bedroom, locking the door with shaking hands. For hours she had feared Caleb Mason. Tonight, she feared something else. That Dominic Hale might not survive the betrayal waiting inside his own walls. Time moved strangely after Dominic left. Too fast to control. Too slow to survive. Evelyn sat on the bedroom floor, back pressed against the door, arms wrapped around Harper as the little girl slept against her chest, exhausted from fear. The suite outside was silent, unnervingly silent. Every faint shift of air made Evelyn's heart jolt. She kept checking the lock, once, twice, 10 times. Dominic had told her to stay put, but Dominic didn't know how the quiet could become a torture chamber for a woman who had lived years waiting for boots at her doorstep. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Before she could even breathe, a text came in. "How's my little girl sleeping?" Evelyn's entire body went cold, her limbs locked. She held Harper tighter. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." Another text appeared. "I told you I'd come for her. You didn't believe me." A third message, a photo. Harper's red backpack discarded on a carpet Evelyn didn't recognize. The scream that tore from her chest never made it past her lips. It stayed trapped inside, clawing and burning as her hands shook violently. Then another sound filled the room. A soft chime. Someone attempting to override the suite's security system. Evelyn covered Harper's ears. "Wake up, baby. We have to go, now." Harper stirred, confused. "Mommy?" "What's happening?" Evelyn didn't answer. She grabbed the girl's coat, shoved her arms into it, and headed toward the balcony. The snowy wind slapped her skin, biting instantly. But she didn't feel cold. She felt hunted. She scanned the building below, too far to climb, too dangerous to jump. But she couldn't stay. The lights in the living room flickered. Someone was inside. Mommy Harper whispered, voice trembling. "Is it the bad man?" Evelyn swallowed a sob. "I won't let him touch you. Ever." She backed them into the shadows of the balcony, heart pounding so loudly she thought it might reveal their location. Footsteps echoed through the suite. Heavy, deliberate, not Dominic's. Evelyn froze. A voice drifted through the open balcony door, taunting, familiar, venomous. Evie, come out. You were always terrible at hiding. Caleb. Harper buried her face in Evelyn's side. Evelyn pressed her lips to Harper's forehead. She whispered, no matter what happens, you run when I say run. Footsteps drew closer. Then a crash. A grunt. A violent thud. Evelyn flinched, heart stopping. Evelyn! It's me! Dominic's voice bellowed. Open the door! She nearly collapsed in relief. She rushed inside, dragging Harper with her. The moment she unlocked the door, Dominic shoved it open and pulled them into his arms. Are you hurt? He demanded. Did he touch her? No, Evelyn breathed. But he was here. Dominic, he was inside. Dominic's eyes burned with fury she'd never seen before. He took Jonas, forced him to give access. He's escalating faster than I thought. Evelyn held up her phone with shaking hands. He sent me this. Dominic looked at the photo. Harper's backpack. His jaw locked. Then his voice dropped to something murderous. Evelyn, that's not from tonight. What? That's from yesterday. A beat. He's telling you he got close enough to touch her. Evelyn felt the world collapse. Dominic caught her shoulders. Listen to me. Caleb Mason crossed a line he can't come back from. His next words were not a promise. They were a sentence. I'm ending him. It didn't take long for Dominic's war room to activate. One moment the suite was silent. The next it filled with quiet, lethal efficiency. Screens lighting up. Encrypted calls firing off. Dominic's men appearing like shadows answering a summons. But even with the storm gathering behind him, Dominic stayed close to Evelyn and Harper, as if anchoring himself to the only thing that still mattered. We're not waiting for Caleb to make the next move, Dominic said, slipping an earpiece in. We're taking the fight to him. Evelyn stood in the center of the room, still shaking. Harper clung to her thigh, small fingers gripping tight. This wasn't her world, not surveillance screens, not tactical maps, not armed men calling Dominic sir. But she was done running. Tell me what you need from me, Evelyn said. It wasn't bravado. It was surrender to truth. She was already in this war, whether she wanted to be or not. Dominic turned to her, surprised, and something in his expression softened. Not with pity, but with respect. I need you safe, that's all. No. Evelyn shook her head fiercely. I'm done hiding while Caleb decides my life. He took my freedom, my past, my voice, and now he wants my daughter? I'm not sitting in a bedroom praying you win. His jaw tightened with conflict. He wasn't used to civilians stepping toward danger, especially not terrified mothers. But Evelyn's eyes didn't flinch. Fine, he said. Then you need to understand what Caleb wants. I already do, Evelyn replied. He wants control. Not just control. Dominic tapped a file on the screen. It opened to grainy images, Caleb in a shipping yard, Caleb receiving envelopes, Caleb shaking hands with men whose names Evelyn didn't recognize. He's involved in something bigger than you, than me, something he can't let anyone tie him to. Evelyn's breath quickened. You think Harper saw something? She was a baby when you ran, Dominic said, but someone might believe you told her more than you did. Evelyn felt the floor sway. So he's chasing a child over a lie. Dominic stepped closer. Caleb doesn't care what's true. He cares what threatens him. Before Evelyn could respond, Harper's small voice broke through the tension. Mommy, is Caleb a monster? The question sliced Evelyn open. She crouched, cupping Harper's face. He's someone who made very bad choices, but we aren't afraid of him anymore, right? Harper blinked, then nodded bravely. Dominic watched them, eyes flickering with something raw, something protective, something dangerous. A man approached Dominic, whispering urgently. Dominic's expression sharpened immediately. What is it? Evelyn asked. Dominic turned to her slowly. We found Jonas. Evelyn exhaled in relief until Dominic added, He's alive, barely. Her stomach twisted. Caleb did that? No, Dominic said grimly. This was punishment for failure, or disobedience, a beat, or both. Evelyn felt sick, so Caleb's cleaning his own house. Exactly. Dominic's voice dropped low, which means he's preparing for something final. Fear flickered in Evelyn's eyes, real fear, not panic. The kind that comes when the truth finally crystallizes. Dominic, she whispered, he's coming for us. No, Dominic corrected, stepping close enough for her to feel the heat of him, the promise in his presence. He's coming for you, and that's why I'm ending this tonight. Evelyn met his gaze steady, unshaken. Then I'm helping. This time, Dominic didn't argue. He nodded once. War had begun. The drive to the waterfront felt like sinking into another world, one built of steel, shadows, and unfinished vengeance. Dominic's convoy moved through the night like a silent storm. Black SUVs, tinted windows, engines purring with restrained violence. Evelyn sat beside him in the lead vehicle, clutching Harper's tiny bracelet in her fist, a reminder of what this war was truly about. Evelyn, Dominic said, eyes fixed on the road. This isn't a negotiation. Caleb won't talk his way out of this. I don't want him to, she replied, voice steady despite the tremor in her bones. I want him stopped. Dominic glanced at her, just briefly, but long enough to see the steel in her expression. Not fear. Resolve. You stay behind me at all times, he instructed. If things go wrong, Jonas's team will pull you out. The mention of Jonas's Till fighting for his life in a secure medical unit sent a stab of grief through Evelyn. Caleb did that because Jonas tried to protect us. Yes, Dominic said quietly, and that's why Caleb dies tonight. The SUVs rolled to a stop near the abandoned warehouse district, a stretch of rusted shipping containers and broken street lamps. The air smelled of salt water and cold iron. Evelyn stepped out, boots hitting the cracked pavement, heart beating so hard she could feel it in her throat. Dominic's men spread out, dark silhouettes, moving with precision. Dominic walked ahead, checking his weapon, his frame aligned with purpose. Evelyn followed close, adrenaline burning through her veins. Why here? She whispered. Because Caleb chose this place years ago, Dominic replied. The night you ran. He used this dock for a deal that went wrong. Men died. Evidence disappeared. He thinks bringing you back here gives him control. Evelyn shivered. Does it? Dominic turned to her, eyes fierce. Not tonight! A sudden clang echoed through the metal yard. Dominic raised a fist, signaling silence. His men froze. Then a voice, a cold, familiar one, ricocheted through the darkness. Evie, you came after all. Evelyn's blood turned to ice. Caleb stepped out from behind a stack of crates, gun in hand, face cruelly calm beneath the floodlights he'd activated. His eyes flicked to Dominic, then back to Evelyn. You always did need another man to protect you, he sneered. Evelyn didn't flinch. I needed protection because of you, because you hurt everything you touched. Caleb smiled. And yet, here you are, still ruining my plans. Dominic stepped forward, voice deep and lethal. Let her go, Caleb. Oh, I will, Caleb said, raising his gun. After she watches you die. Evelyn screamed as Caleb fired. Dominic moved faster than instinct, faster than breath. He slammed into her, pulling her down behind a crate as the bullet hit metal with a sharp, violent clang. Gunfire erupted. Dominic's men opened fire from multiple angles, the night exploding into sparks and shadows. Caleb ducked behind a container, shouting orders to unseen allies. Dominic grabbed Evelyn's shoulders. Stay down! No, she cried, gripping his coat. I'm not leaving you. You're not, he said, brushing a gloved hand across her cheek. But you're not dying tonight. He rose from cover, firing with ruthless precision, and Evelyn watched in horror and awe as the man who saved her life now fought to end the one who destroyed it. Gunfire tore through the night, like lightning splitting open the sky. Bullets ricocheted off metal containers, sparks flying in sharp bursts of orange. Evelyn pressed her back against the crate, hands over her ears, heart hammering so violently she thought it might burst. Every scream, every shot, every echo felt like a blade slicing through her nerves. Dominic moved with terrifying precision, calm, calculated, lethal. He fired methodically, each shot carving a path toward Caleb's position. His men flanked left and right, tightening the circle. But Caleb was slippery, always had been. A man who learned survival not through strength, but through cruelty. A bullet struck inches above Evelyn's head. She gasped and ducked lower. Dominic spun toward her. "Evelyn, stay down! I'm trying!" she shouted back, voice shaking. He moved to cover her, but a sudden volley of gunfire forced him behind another container. Caleb's voice rang out, mocking, amplified by the hollow metal yard. "You think you can protect her, Hale? You don't know her like I do. She breaks. She always breaks." Evelyn's breath froze, not from fear, but from fury. Dominic stepped out from cover, firing in Caleb's direction. "Shut up and come face me, Mason!" Caleb laughed, a sound Evelyn once mistook for charm. "You're fighting the wrong war," Caleb taunted. "She ruined my life. She ruined everything. And you're next." Evelyn crawled to a different crate, trying to get a better view. Dominic's men were pushing forward, forcing Caleb's shooters to retreat deeper into the maze of containers. Then, a sudden sharp cry, followed by a thud. Dominic turned instantly. "Reed!" he barked, sprinting to one of his fallen men. Evelyn peeked through a narrow gap and saw Jonas's second-in-command on the ground, clutching his side, bleeding heavily. Dominic knelt beside him. "Stay with me!" The man coughed, blood staining his lips. He said I should deliver a message." "Who?" Dominic demanded, though he already knew. "Caleb." The man gasped for air, forcing out the words. He said, "Tell Dominic she was always meant to watch him die." Evelyn felt her stomach lurch violently. She covered her mouth, fighting back tears. Dominic's entire body went still frozen with a deadly calm, more frightening than rage. He lowered the dying man gently to the ground, closed his eyes, then rose. A different man. No mercy left, no hesitation, no restraint. "Dominic!" Evelyn cried. "What does he want? Why is he doing this?" Dominic turned to her, breathing hard, voice rough. "Because Caleb's not trying to escape." Evelyn blinked. "What do you mean?" "He's trying to break you," Dominic said. "He wants you terrified, hopeless, paralyzed, because that's when he wins." A shot cracked through the air, narrowly missing Dominic. Evelyn screamed. "Dominic!" He grabbed her, pulling her into cover just in time. His breath was hot against her ear. "I won't let him take you," he whispered. "Either of you." Her heartbeat thundered as she whispered back. "Then finish this." Dominic pulled away, eyes blazing. "And I will!" He signaled his men, voice ringing through the yard like a command carved from steel. "Titan formation! Push forward! Mason ends tonight!" A storm erupted gunfire, shouts, metal clashing. And Evelyn realized the truth. The price of survival wasn't just blood. It was becoming someone strong enough to face the monster who made her afraid. Gunfire thundered across the waterfront, echoing through the metal labyrinth like a war drum. Dominic's men pushed forward with brutal precision, forcing Caleb's shooters deeper into the maze of crates. But something in the air changed, subtle at first, then undeniable. A shift in momentum, a disturbance in the formation, a silence tucked between the chaos. Dominic felt it before he saw it. "Hold!" he commanded. His men froze instantly. Evelyn crouched behind a crate, clutching Harper's bracelet so tightly her knuckles whitened. Her eyes darted between Dominic, the gunfire, and the shadows rippling along the far side of the yard. "What is it?" she whispered. Dominic didn't answer. He lifted his hand, signaling his team to stay low. His gaze locked on a single figure emerging from the darkness, stumbling, limping, barely upright. At first, Evelyn thought it was Caleb, but then the figure stepped under a flickering floodlight, and she gasped. "Jonas!" she breathed. The man who had betrayed them. The man Caleb had punished. The man Dominic had trusted for 12 years. He looked like death-bruised, bloodied, one eye nearly swollen shut. But there was something fierce in the way he stayed standing, something that refused to die before a final truth was spoken. Dominic moved toward him, gun raised not in execution, but in warning. "Jonas!" Dominic growled. "If you lift that weapon, I'm not armed." Jonas coughed, raising both trembling hands. He took everything." Dominic stopped 3 steps away. His expression was unreadable steel. Evelyn stepped out slightly. "Jonas, why are you here?" Jonas inhaled shakily, blood staining his lips. "Because Caleb lied. He said he only wanted Evelyn, said he'd spare the kid, said he'd let me walk if I helped." His voice cracked. "He never planned to keep any promise." Dominic's jaw clenched. "You betrayed me for a lie?" Jonas shook his head, pain twisting across his features. "I betrayed you because he threatened my brother." Evelyn's eyes widened. "But Dominic said you didn't have family." "I didn't," Jonas rasped. "Not officially. He was adopted, off the grid. I kept him hidden from all of this. Caleb found him." Dominic's eyes flickered surprise, fury, grief colliding inside him. "Your brother," Dominic whispered. "Jonas, why didn't you tell me?" "I thought I could fix it myself." Jonas's knees buckled. Dominic caught him before he hit the ground. "I thought I could protect him without dragging you in. But Caleb isn't human." "We know," Evelyn whispered. Jonas grabbed Dominic's collar weakly. "He's not running tonight. He's staging something bigger than this fight." Dominic leaned closer. "Where is he?" Jonas swallowed hard. "He's headed for the dockyard control tower. He wants high ground and sightlines. He said he wanted Evelyn to watch everything from above." Evelyn felt sick. Dominic's expression hardened into something lethal. "You did wrong, Jonas. But you came back." "I'm sorry, Dominic," Jonas whispered. "For everything." Dominic nodded once. A soldier's forgiveness. Then Jonas's head fell forward alive, but barely. Dominic lifted him into the arms of a medic and turned to Evelyn. "Caleb was close. Too close. He's trying to end this on his terms," Dominic said, "but we ended on mine." Evelyn met his gaze, eyes burning with fear and fury. "Then take me with you." Dominic didn't hesitate this time. "Stay behind me," he said. "But yes, this ends tonight." They sprinted toward the tower, and somewhere above them, Caleb Mason waited smiling, armed, and convinced the night still belonged to him. The tower loomed over the dockyard like a skeleton of steel and broken promises. A narrow structure of rusted stairs, shattered windows, and echoing wind abandoned by workers, claimed tonight by violence. Dominic's hand tightened around his gun as he assessed the structure. Evelyn stood behind him, goosebumps rising on her arms despite the humid air rolling off the water. "Stay close," Dominic said without looking back. "I'm not letting you face him alone," Evelyn replied, voice firmer than she felt. The climb began. Every step rattled beneath their feet. Every metal groan carried the threat of collapse. Dominic moved first, silent, swift, calculating. Evelyn followed, her breath shallow, palms sweating despite the cold. Halfway up, a bullet sliced past Dominic's shoulder. Evelyn gasped. Dominic yanked her into cover against the railing. "He's watching us!" Above them, Caleb's voice echoed through the steel corridors, smooth and venomous. "Evie, you're making this too easy!" Evelyn felt Dominic tense beside her. He peeked around the corner, another shot rang out, grazing the metal inches from his head. "He has height and range," Dominic muttered. "We're exposed." Evelyn swallowed hard. "Then we move faster." He turned to her, eyes narrowing. "I won't risk you." "You already have," she whispered, "by bringing me here." Dominic froze. The truth sank between them, heavy, raw, unavoidable. Then he nodded. They sprinted upward. Caleb fired again, but the ricochets were sloppy, desperate. Evelyn realized with dawning horror. He wasn't aiming to kill Dominic. He was aiming to herd them, to pull them exactly where he wanted. The final landing opened into a decaying control room. Windows broken, equipment rusted. A single floodlight shining through the shattered wall. And in the center, Caleb Mason, gun in hand, smile carved with madness, eyes locked on Evelyn. There she is, he crooned. The woman who destroyed everything, and the man who thinks he can save her. Dominic stepped forward, gun raised. It's over, Mason, Caleb laughed. Over? Dominic, you don't understand. He gestured around them. This tower is where it started. The night she ran. The night I lost control. Evelyn's voice cracked. You didn't lose control, you were a monster. Caleb's face twitched. I gave you a home, and you took my reputation, my job, my life. You did that to yourself, she shot back. His smile dropped. I warned you, Evie. You don't get to walk away from me, not then, not now. He raised his gun at Dominic. Dominic didn't flinch. Shoot me, and you'll never touch her again. That's the point, Caleb hissed. He pulled the trigger. Evelyn screamed, but Dominic lunged, slamming into her and knocking her to the floor as the bullet shattered the wall behind them. Caleb fired again, wild, angry. Dominic rolled, kicking a loose metal rod across the floor. It struck Caleb's wrist, making his gun slip. Caleb snarled. You think you've won? He stepped toward the edge of the tower. Then Evelyn saw it, a detonator in his other hand. Dominic, she whispered, voice breaking. He's wired the tower. Caleb grinned, eyes glowing with triumph. You're not leaving here alive. Caleb's thumb hovered over the detonator, eyes gleaming with a madness Evelyn had prayed she would never see again. The cold wind whipped through the tower's broken windows, rattling loose metal, carrying the smell of salt water and impending death. Don't, Evelyn whispered, stepping forward before Dominic could stop her. Caleb, please think about what you're doing. Caleb laughed, a sharp and fractured sound. Thinking is what ruined me, Evie. All those nights wondering why you took her and ran. Why you lied. Why you never loved me. I feared you, she said, voice cracking. I feared what you'd do to Harper, what you'd do to me. You should fear me now, he snarled. Dominic stepped between them, gun raised. Put the detonator down, Mason. We can walk out of this alive. You can, Caleb sneered. She can't? Then he pressed the button. Evelyn screamed. Dominic lunged. But nothing happened. No explosion. No collapse. Just a blinking red light. Dominic's eyes narrowed. You didn't arm it. Caleb's face twitched. What? Dominic smirked, ice cold and lethal. Your system's outdated. I intercepted the signal 20 minutes ago. Caleb roared, charging Dominic with blind rage. The two men collided, slamming into a rusted control console. Metal screeched. Fists flew. Dominic blocked a strike, countering with a brutal elbow to Caleb's jaw. Evelyn watched, heart pounding, as the two men fought like animals in a cage, one fueled by vengeance, the other by survival. But Caleb was unhinged, driven, desperate. He grabbed a shattered metal pipe from the floor and swung wildly. Dominic dodged, but the pipe grazed his ribs, making him stumble. Dominic! Evelyn cried. Caleb seized the opening, slamming Dominic against the glass. It cracked under the force. You took everything from me! Caleb screamed. Dominic gritted his teeth. You destroyed yourself! Caleb struck again, ready to send Dominic through the window. But Evelyn moved. With shaking hands, she grabbed the same metal rod Dominic had kicked earlier and swung with every ounce of fear, rage, and stolen years. It connected with Caleb's back. He staggered, stunned. Dominic surged forward, twisting Caleb's wrist until the detonator fell from his hand. It clattered across the floor. You should have stayed dead in my past, Evelyn whispered. Caleb turned toward her, fury distorting his face. You don't get to win, Evie. Dominic grabbed him by the collar and dragged him toward the shattered window. Caleb struggled, kicking, clawing. No! Wait, Dominic, wait! You threatened a child, Dominic said, voice low and final. Your fate was sealed the moment you touched her world. With one brutal motion, Dominic shoved. Caleb's scream echoed through the steel tower as he fell backward, arms flailing, disappearing into the darkness below. A sickening splash followed. Silence swallowed the tower. Evelyn stood frozen, chest heaving, eyes wide. Dominic turned to her bleeding, panting, and reached out. It's over, he breathed. But Evelyn shook her head, tears streaming. No, she whispered. It's never over that easily. Dominic frowned. Evelyn. She held up the detonator. The light had stopped blinking, meaning one thing. Someone else had just activated the real explosives. For a heartbeat, neither of them moved. The stopped blinking light on the detonator felt louder than any explosion. Dominic snatched it from Evelyn's hand, eyes widening as he scanned the device. This isn't the trigger, he muttered. It's a decoy. Evelyn swallowed hard. Then who? A deep rumble answered her. The floor vibrated beneath their feet. Dominic's head snapped toward the metal beams overhead. They wired the supports. Someone else is in the tower. Someone Caleb trusted. Another tremor. Dust rained from the ceiling. Evelyn staggered. Dominic, the whole structure is rigged to collapse, he finished, grabbing her wrist. We need to move. Now. They sprinted toward the stairwell, boots clanging against metal. Every breath scraped Evelyn's throat raw, every jolt shaking her bones. Behind them, the tower groaned like a dying beast. Halfway down the stairs, an explosion ripped through the lower level. The impact threw Evelyn off balance. Dominic caught her mid-fall, slamming her into his chest as fire erupted below. Dominic! She cried into his coat. His grip tightened. I've got you. Just keep moving. They turned back up the stairs, the only direction left, but another explosion rocked the tower, sending twisted metal raining down. Dominic shielded Evelyn with his body, grunting as shrapnel cut through his jacket. Dominic, you're hurt! Focus, Evelyn! He pushed her forward. Go! She did, but only because he was right behind her. They reached the top platform again, coughing through smoke. The control room windows shattered further, wind whipping flames sideways. The tower swayed violently. We're trapped, Evelyn gasped. There's no way down. Dominic scanned the skyline, a soldier calculating impossible odds. Then his gaze landed on a construction crane, stretching across the next building. Not down, he said. Across. Evelyn followed his eyes and nearly fainted. The crane was 10 feet away across open air, 3 stories above the freezing water. No, Dominic, I can't. You can, he said fiercely. For Harper, you can. Another explosion tore through the lower supports. The tower tilted. Metal screeched. Evelyn screamed. Dominic grabbed her waist, pulling her toward the ledge. I'll go first. Before she could protest, he leapt, grabbing the crane's metal bar with one hand, his body swinging dangerously before he pulled himself up. Evelyn! He shouted. Jump! She shook her head violently. I can't, Dominic. You can, he repeated. I won't let you fall. Below, the tower groaned again, then split with a deafening crack. Evelyn forced air into her lungs. She thought of Harper, her smile, her soft curls, her tiny voice whispering, Mommy, be brave. And she jumped. Her hands slammed into Dominic's, his fingers locked around her wrists. For a second, the world went silent, except for their breathing. I've got you, he whispered, pulling her up. The moment her feet hit the crane, the tower behind them collapsed in a roaring firestorm, falling into the black water with a final, monstrous scream. Evelyn stared at the inferno, her chest heaving, tears streaming down her face. Dominic stepped behind her, placing a steadying hand on her shoulder. It's over, he said softly. But Evelyn shook her head. No. Someone else armed the explosives. Someone else is still out there. Dominic's jaw clenched. She was right. The real traitor hadn't shown their face yet, The crane swayed gently in the winter wind as firefighters and police sirens echoed below. The tower that had held so many nightmares for Evelyn was now nothing but flaming wreckage sinking into black water. Dominic guided her across the metal beam toward the rooftop of the next building. His grip never left her hand. "You're safe," he whispered, though he knew safety was a fragile thing. When they finally stepped onto solid ground, Evelyn collapsed to her knees. Her whole body trembled, not from fear, but from release. She had survived. Harper was alive. Caleb was gone. But Dominic sank beside her, breath heavy, brow furrowed, not in relief, but suspicion. "Someone else wired those bombs," he said. "Someone with access. Someone who wanted Caleb dead, but wanted us dead with him." Evelyn swallowed hard. "Do you know who?" Dominic hesitated, then nodded. A door behind them creaked open. Footsteps approached. Evelyn turned and froze. Marissa, her cafe manager, her friend. But the look in Marissa's eyes now wasn't kindness. It was cold calculation. "You made this harder than it needed to be," Marissa said softly. Evelyn shook her head in disbelief. "Marissa, why?" "Because Caleb promised me a way out," Marissa replied. "He said if I helped him, if I told him when you worked, where you lived, he'd erase my debts. Give me a new start." She laughed bitterly. He lied. But by the time I realized that, I was already in too deep. Dominic stepped in front of Evelyn, shielding her. "You wired the tower." Marissa shrugged. "Insurance." Caleb was becoming unstable. "But you," her gaze sharpened. "You were the real obstacle. You were going to expose everything." "I trusted you," Evelyn whispered. "And I trusted survival," Marissa replied, pulling a gun from her coat. Evelyn's breath caught. Dominic moved instantly, placing himself between them. "Put it down," he warned. "No, I'm done running, done begging." Marissa's hands trembled, but her aim did not. "I just want my life back." "You don't get it back by taking hers," Dominic said. Evelyn rose slowly, stepping beside him. "Marissa, look at me." "You don't have to do this." "Yes, I do," Marissa cried, voice cracking. "Because no one ever protected me the way he protected you." She raised the gun. A single shot echoed across the rooftop. Marissa gasped, staggered, then crumpled to her knees as the weapon clattered across the concrete. Behind her, Detective Sean Walker lowered his pistol, badge glinting in the moonlight. "Evelyn," he called softly. "I've been tracking her for weeks. She was on Caleb's payroll long before he came for you." Evelyn collapsed into Dominic's chest, sobbing. Days later, sunlight streamed through the courthouse steps as Evelyn held Harper's tiny hand. Charges against her were formally dismissed. All falsified records destroyed. Her name restored. Dominic waited outside, leaning against a black Mercedes, a soft smile tugging at his usually severe features. "Free woman now," he murmured as she approached. For the first time, Evelyn whispered. He knelt before Harper. "May I ask something important?" Harper giggled. "What?" Dominic held out a simple, elegant ring, not flashy, not loud. "A promise, not a possession. Do you think," he asked gently, "your mom would let me love her the way she deserves?" Harper gasped. "Mommy, say yes!" Tears filled Evelyn's eyes, not from pain this time, but from finally being seen. "Yes," she whispered, "because I fought for this life, and I'm ready to live it." Dominic rose, cupping her face, voice warm. "You deserve peace, Evelyn, and I'll spend my life giving it to you." The three of them embraced as snow began to fall soft, gentle, cleansing. The nightmare was over, the healing had begun, and justice at last had been served. So that's our story. And hey, my amazing friends, you're still here with us, right? If you've stayed all the way to this moment, then something in this journey must have touched your heart in a real, honest way. You know, Evelyn's fight reminds us of something powerful from Stoic philosophy. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And that's exactly what happened here. Evelyn wasn't fearless. She simply refused to let fear control her life. She learned that healing isn't about forgetting the past. It's about choosing who you become after surviving it. Her story also shows us a few truths we sometimes forget. Not everyone who smiles is your friend. Not everyone who seems tough is heartless. Some people love fiercely, just quietly. And sometimes you have to lose everything before you finally find the peace you deserve. If this story made you feel something, if it reminded you of your own strength, even just a little, then don't leave just yet. Hit like, share this story with someone who needs it, and subscribe to our channel so we can keep telling the kind of stories that stay with you long after the video ends. Thank you for being here. Really, it means more than you know.